Ladies and gentlemen, Andy and Emmy here. We have been together for 6 years. We're in a beautiful relationship. We love each other very much, and she's often late to podcasts, and here she is now.
Because there's a puzzle in the background, and I'm doing a puzzle.
You were doing a puzzle. What are you, an old lady?
You
You're
do the
such you're
puzzle
such a
with
beautiful old
me.
lady. If you're an old lady, holy crap, I would go there. So
Okay, if you're an adult and you're watching this, when was the last time you did a puzzle? They're quite fun. I
leave a
like
comment
them.
below, everybody, and tell us when you last did a puzzle. So
They're
listen, hey,
relaxing.
whoa, listen,
Did you check my mic's
listen.
working?
Yeah, your microphone is working.
Okay.
Listen. If your partner is sad or emotional, you don't have to get bogged down in the sadness with them. You don't have to take it personally. You don't have to put all this effort into fixing them or fixing their emotions or rushing to get in there and say, come on, we got to cheer you up. Just being there for them is sometimes enough. And this is something that took us
Yes.
like 4 years, 5 years to figure out.
Long time. I think because
Yeah.
initially it's very much this sense of like, it is coming from a good place.
Like
And
wanting to fix your partner's emotions or cheer them up or make them happy all the time.
yeah, or even because I think fix can be a loaded word, but help and support your partner. And I think because, especially in the first couple of years of our relationship, enough of the time we were able to cheer each other up or make each other feel a bit better. And you get the payoff from that, and you get the gratitude and obviously the improvement or the solution. And you're like, oh, I should keep doing this. But I think it was almost a long term learning lesson because there was the process of learning that if I keep feeling the need to fix my partner over a prolonged period of time, there's a pressure there, and that can feel like a lot of work the more and more and more you do it.
Yeah, you can sum all of this up by saying for the first like 4 or 5 years of our relationship, I was not okay with you ever really being sad.
Mm.
I took it very personally. I felt very insecure about it. I would feel like, holy crap, I must be a bad boyfriend. Otherwise, why is she sad? And it's like, well, because people get sad sometimes. You get sad at the start or leading up to your period once a month. You get a little bit self-conscious, you get a little bit insecure, you get a little bit sad, and that just happens once a month. And I would almost take that personally, and I'd be like, it doesn't matter. Like, I have to fix her emotions. I have to help her be happy. I have to show her that the world is full of abundance and joy and gratitude. And you would often take it personally with me. If I was ever disappointed, like
Mm.
disappointed in you, disappointed in other people, just if I ever felt the feeling of disappointment, that seemed to be your trigger. And it just probably comes from your childhood and the school that you went to and your father putting a lot of pressure on you because your father is like Asian and all this pressure to like perform. And so the emotion of disappointment
Mm.
triggered you like crazy. And so you would almost walk on eggshells to stop me ever being disappointed. Like you were not okay with me being disappointed. And I was not okay with you ever being sad or like a little bit quiet or shut down or any of that.
Mm. And I think for us, part of working through this or what we've learned over the years is just understanding that we're both human and it's normal for us to get sad or like that's okay. It's very okay to be sad.
It sounds like such a obvious statement, but we just, yeah, I think a lot of people in relationships put all this pressure on themselves to make their partner happy.
And I think too, like the assumptions that when someone says they're sad or like I'm not feeling too good, if you say that to anybody, like if the checkout chick says like, "Oh, how you going?" and you're like, "Oh, not the best," they're like, "Oh, is something wrong?" Like, "Oh, what's the matter?" Like, it is treated like a problem or something
Mm,
that's not good or not okay or it shouldn't be the case.
mm.
And so I think that can come out a lot in relationships, obviously, because generally speaking, your partner is somebody that you turn to the most often. But I think part of the solution for me at least is also being okay with my own sadness, like me
Mm.
myself being okay with it and acknowledging that it's all right if I have a sad day and I can just, I guess, do things that make me feel the best that I can and give that to myself. And I actually find we've found a lot more peace in us addressing our own negative feelings a lot of
Yeah.
the time. Often for me, the best solution as of late has just been to give myself some space and have some me time, as cliche as that sounds.
Yeah, building our own independence definitely helped us let go of the need to like almost manage each other's emotions.
Mm.
And like I said, that was something that we did for the first 4 years. We really were trying to manage each other's emotions. I was not okay if you were sad. I would be sad if you were sad. and you would feel disappointed if I was disappointed. And we also weren't okay with each other's other emotions. You were not okay if I was ever annoyed at something. If I was ever frustrated, you were not okay with that. If you were ever frustrated with something or impatient, I would want to hurry you up and get you to the solution. And it's so much easier to see the solution with someone else. Like if you're sad and I'm looking at you, for me, it's just like, oh, go for a walk and you'll feel better. Or process the emotion and you'll feel better. It's very easy to give advice to someone else on how to fix their emotions. But when you're in the emotion, someone telling you, hey, calm down and you'll feel better. It's like, that doesn't make me calm down. Hey, just like put a smile on your face and you'll feel better. That doesn't make you feel better. And so we would often give this like almost like backseat driving with each other's emotions. I'd be like, just cheer up. And it's like, yeah, but I'm the one fucking driving. I'm the one feeling the sadness right now. Don't just tell me to feel better. And like I said, it was very much because we weren't okay with each other's emotions. I wasn't okay with your emotions, or I thought I wasn't okay with your emotions. And the thing that helped probably the most was just being okay with you being sad sometimes and sitting with that and going, is it a bad thing if my partner is sad? Like you said, people will by default assume that if you're sad or angry or you're feeling any of these so-called negative emotions, people assume that's a bad thing. And they'll go, oh my God, that sucks. Oh, I'm so sorry. And it's like, why? What? You think I'm the first human being on the planet to ever get sad? Why would it be a bad thing? Everybody gets sad. A lot. A lot. Why would that be a bad thing? That's like getting sad that a tree is green. Oh my God, the sky's blue. That sucks. No, it's reality. And accepting that reality helped us a lot.
Yeah, so much so. It's just that piece of like, it's okay if I'm sad, ironically makes the feeling sad not so bad. It's just like, oh, all right, I'm going to be sad today. Maybe I have a bit of a gentle day and I don't do too much, and I kind of just try and make it as nice as possible, as I said before. And it's actually still something that I remind myself of now, because I think I've gotten pretty good at saying I'm okay when I'm sad. And sometimes when you're not feeling your best, Andy, I get a bit worried and I have a lot of thoughts and concerns that come up because I'm like, oh, I don't want him to be sad. Like sometimes I feel a little bit helpless in your being sad. And what I actually do sometimes is I remind myself of what I feel like when I'm sad, and then it's totally okay. And if anything, I get a bit stressed from you fussing over me and worrying too much. And when I'm sad, I'm like, this is fine. Like I often say that to myself, like, this is totally okay. I'm just gonna chill today.
Yeah, it's just some emotions. It's okay to feel sad today. Yeah.
And if I imagine you going through that same thing rather than making it into a big deal and picture it as something that is totally fine for you and it's something that always passes, then there's a lot more peace in you feeling whatever you're feeling.
Yeah, emotions come and go. Sometimes we feel them very strongly. Sometimes, they're there for a little while, but they do always go. Emotions do always go. I will add in the caveat, as long as you're working towards solutions with your problems and making progress and self-improvement and all of that. If you don't solve your own problems, if you aren't improving yourself, then yes, you can get very depressed and the emotions build and build. But if you have a foundation of self-improvement and your partner does, which we obviously did from the very beginning, and we talk about that a lot on this channel, then emotions will just be there for a little while and then they'll go. And you can, like, that's been the thing that's helped me the most, is realizing or reminding myself that tomorrow Imogen will probably feel better and she'll be fine. And if not tomorrow, then after that. And if not after that, then she'll just be sad forever, and that's fine too. Could you still live a pretty decent life while being sad all the time? Yeah, plenty of people were. Mother Teresa is probably the best example of someone who dealt with a lot of emotional turmoil and what might be called, or what she called, spiritual dryness. You can kind of read all of her books and she talks about that. She was very, I guess you could say, struggled internally for like 40 years of her life. And look at all the good that that woman did in the world. That's a pretty special life. And so even if you were sad forever, which is probably not going to happen, you could still have an okay life. And realizing that emotions don't have to dictate your entire like world, so to speak. And just because you're sad, that doesn't mean you can't take action. And then looking at your partner and saying, okay, she's sad, but that doesn't mean she has to have a bad day. It's sort of like letting go of that assumption that a negative emotion or a certain emotion is bad and will lead to a bad day. When you can let go of that and say, oh, she's sad, but we can still have a nice time together, or she can have a nice time by herself, then I actually start looking for solutions. And I say, oh, you're sad. Do you want to just hang out and cuddle? Or do you want to just be by yourself? Or how about I will just leave you alone and you do whatever the hell you want, and that's fine. You'll either be sad or you'll cheer yourself up, or the emotion will fade, but it will all be okay.
And funnily enough, in the past, when maybe we were putting pressure on one another or ourselves to fix the other person, maybe the solution or the action was the same, where you would offer to spend time together, or is there something I could do? Like, you would ask those questions. But I think the very big distinction was the energy that was behind that. There was almost a neediness to change the other person or to fix things or to be the one that is the solution, rather than a peaceful, like, here's some solutions, but if you don't want to take any of them and if you just want to be sad, that's okay. Versus like, here's some solutions, we need to make sure that we do them, we need to make sure that you're okay. Are you okay? Like, why aren't you okay? Let's make you okay. The actions can be quite similar, but I think there's been a huge shift in energy in response to one another's less than positive emotions.
We don't need each other to cheer up anymore. And we haven't for probably like a year, maybe less than that.
Yeah, and we forget sometimes. To be clear, we're not perfect with this.
Oh yeah.
At all. Like, sometimes I definitely still worry especially when you have money stress, or you're maybe using some of your vices a bit more. But there's been a drastic improvement over time.
Yeah, for sure. And I think let's go back to, let's talk a little bit more about like what it was like when we did put that pressure on each other to cheer up, or we put pressure on ourselves to cheer the other person up, to handle the other person's emotions, to be like there for them at all times, no matter what. We were both inadvertently, without meaning to, teaching each other to bottle up our emotions and suppress them and hide our emotions. Like, if you constantly put pressure on yourself to cheer your partner loves you, and they don't want you to put pressure on yourselves to constantly cheer them up. And so what happens, without them even meaning to, they'll start hiding their emotions. Maybe they're having a bad day and you'll say, hey, you look sad today. And they'll just quickly have a stiff upper lip and they'll say, no, I'm fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine. And you'll go, but it seems like you're sad. Are you sure you're not sad? And they'll go, no, it's fine. Don't worry about it. And you teach each other to lie to each other. You don't mean to, but you lie and hide your emotions because you don't want to have to go through this whole big thing, and where they try and fix me and then maybe it doesn't work, maybe it does work, and we have to sit there and struggle and try and solve my emotions, when, like you said, sometimes you're just a little bit sad and there's not even anything that needs to be done, but your other partner will look at your little bit of sadness and say, oh shit, I have to fix that. And you go, no, like, I don't want you to fix it. I'm fine. Like, I'm freaking fine. And so it becomes this big thing, and it definitely became a big thing for us at times, where you would be a little bit sad and I'd be like, hey, you seem sad. And you're like, no, I'm not. It's fine. I'm just a little bit sad. And I'll be like, almost needy. I would almost be needy and be like, no, come on. Like, tell me what's up. Like, we can solve this. Tell me what's up. And you'd be like, I don't want to. I will get over this emotion in another 1 hour if you just left me alone.
Yeah, and when I was feeling a little bit quiet or withdrawn,
Like, you wanted a little bit of space, basically.
yeah, you would often be like, you're pushing me away, like you're not
I'd be
treating
like,
me
come on, like, talk to me.
like
Like,
on the
come
same
on.
team, like you're
Yeah.
creating a rift between us. And I think as well, sometimes my sadness was eventually met with your frustration.
Yeah, I'd get frustrated that you weren't letting me help you solve the sadness that didn't really need to be solved in the first place.
Yeah, or just that I was sad quite frequently sometimes. And again, as you said, that just made me want to withdraw more and bottle it up more. And funnily enough, then would perpetuate a lot of the negative feelings, because it felt like I didn't necessarily have a lot of space to feel those feelings. And in the reverse as well, I think even now sometimes you put some pressure on yourself not to express stress.
Oh, I definitely have we can just call it masculine. I don't know if it is solely masculine. Women do the same thing, especially like mothers and stuff like that, where you become the rock to the point where you're basically a martyr. And any emotions or stress that you might be feeling, you're like, well, I'm going to suck this up because I don't want my partner to worry. And I want to be the head of the household. And like, I'm not the head of this household. We don't really have a household. But, I want to be the rock, the head of the relationship. And so I'm going to hide my own emotions and bottle it up. And if I'm ever a little bit sad or disappointed or whatever, it's like, well, suck it up, buttercup, and just deal with it. Yeah, I still do that to some extent. That doesn't happen very often, but there are still times where I'm like, I could tell her about this stress that I'm going through, but fuck it, I won't. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I will still go to my friends and family and stuff like that. But yeah, there's still a little bit of that tension, I guess, that I'm still letting go of like, Imogen is okay if I'm not okay. Like she's okay with me being sad and disappointed. And I think that's just us unlearning 4 years of, because like we said, we weren't perfect, but we had 4 years of teaching each other to bottle up our emotions sometimes and not be okay if we were ever not okay, all of that kind of stuff. And so we're kind of unlearning that and going, it's okay if I'm sad and disappointed. It's okay if the other person's sad or disappointed.
And what you just said, actually, there's obviously the element of trying to fix the other person. But then I think the other thing that we create, especially with you and I, as in, I would often try and get you to fix me. Like I would come to you with almost all of my problems because
You'd like dump all your burden of your emotions on me. Yeah, you didn't mean to.
we had kind of created that dynamic. And funnily enough, doing what we do now and having more of that independence, as you said before, like there's almost not so much the need to come to you anymore. Like I don't feel the need to tell you anything, or if I'm having a sad day or a quiet day, I don't necessarily need to come to you. Or even if I'm having some stress, I don't necessarily always feel the need to come to you. Whereas in the past, I think we'd both played into that dynamic where I would always come to you for everything and you encouraged it. And if there wasn't a time where I was coming to you for something that was seen as a bad thing and that was like criticized and said that like it's the wrong thing to be doing.
Yeah, you
It's
should
not
be
helpful.
coming to me is what I used to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think we went from one extreme to the other. So like for full context, something that we talk about a lot on this channel is like being on the same team as your partner or even people that you're just having casual sex with. Treat them like they're on the same team. You know, it's not men versus women. You guys can come together, or if you're gay or whatever, you guys can come together and form a partnership, even if it's just a casual sexual one, and they're your teammate. And I took that to the extreme, like I do with a lot of stuff. That's just kind of my personality and lots of people's personalities. You go to one extreme, then you go to the other extreme, and then maybe you find some happy middle ground in the middle. That's kind of what humans do to figure things out. And so I took that to the extreme, and I was basically like, anytime you're sad, I want you to be honest with me about that and tell me, because that's what teammates do. They tell each other everything. And it's like, yes, that's beautiful, but then that means that I'm almost the sole source of cheering you up. I'm like your sole therapist almost. And we did the same thing in reverse. I would tell you like everything that stressed me out. And a lot of the time you would listen, but then afterwards you'd feel like maybe I listened too much. Like now I just feel shit because I've just listened to every sad thing that you have, and maybe I'm not full, like you are not fully equipped to handle it and to be able to listen. To be clear, like now you're very good at listening. I'm very good at listening, but we went through a period of time where we were, I wouldn't say telling each other too much because it was part of our journey and it's what got us here. But now we tell each other a little bit less, and that doesn't mean lying. That doesn't mean like hiding the truth or not being on the same team or any of that. But it's more like we will go to our coach. We have a beautiful spiritual coach, Keith, or you might go to a therapist or a nutritionist or your friends, or I will go to my friends, or we'll read a book or watch a YouTube video. We'll go and find the solution and solve it. And then we'll come back to the other person and say, hey, I just solved this problem. Just letting you know, I was like feeling this stress and blah, blah, blah. And here's what I did to solve it. Or we'll tell each other at the start, I'm feeling this stress, but I'm going to talk to my therapist about it. Cool, great. Or I will say, I'm feeling this stress. I'm going to talk to my friends. So we're still sharing. We're just not like dumping it on the other person.
Yeah. And sometimes when we're on the receiving end of that, we might ask the question like, would you like to talk about it? Or is this something that you'd like to discuss or work through it all together? And sometimes the answer is yes, and sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes the answer is just like, I think I can manage this. I think I have the tools to deal with this. So like, I'm all right. Thank you though.
Yeah. Yeah. So what helped us learn how to be okay with the other person's emotions? I would say more than anything, just practice and being able to sit in the emotion, like sit in the discomfort of seeing you upset. And that can be a little bit uncomfortable at first. It was very uncomfortable for me to just sit there and watch you be sad and watch you cry. And the more I practiced that, like literally just sitting there, and you're still offering something. Like I would say, would you like a hug? Would you like me to listen to you? Are you okay? Or if I felt like I couldn't offer that because I wasn't, in a good place that day, I would say, would you like to go for a walk? Would you like to go by yourself and have a bath or something? Do you want to speak to your coach? Do you want to speak to your friends about this? So I'd offer something and say, like, do you want to solve this problem? But learning to just sit there and be okay in that emotion, the
Yeah.
discomfort of your emotion, eventually you become very comfortable with it. That's how exposure therapy works. And now you can sit there and cry in front of me. I mean, we've done it like 100 times over the last like year. You'll be crying and I can just sit there and just hold you or just not do anything and just be like, you're sad. That's okay. It's okay to be sad. And you're now much better at me being disappointed or stressed. You're like, you're disappointed or stressed. That's okay.
Yeah, and in that situation, even zooming out a little bit more and asking, like, is there actually anything wrong right now?
Or is this just some emotion that's temporary? Yeah.
Like, other than the fact that clearly, yes, my partner isn't feeling their best. Like, what is actually wrong with that? It's just a feeling. It's actually not necessarily good or bad. I think we've got a tendency to label sad as like bad and not good and should be changed. But sadness is, part of the range of human emotions, and it's perfectly okay. And sometimes it can be a beautiful thing that's an emotion that is present. And so other than, again, this kind of comes back to a Byron Katie style dissection of it, but other than the story that you tell yourself that like they shouldn't feel sad, it's so bad that they should feel sad. If you're looking at someone that's sad in front of you, is anything actually wrong other than the fact that they're not feeling great?
No, nothing's wrong. They're
Yeah.
just feeling an emotion.
Yeah.
And sadness can lead to beauty.
Mm.
Sadness can be part of change. Sadness can be incredible impetus to change something. If you feel sad every single day for a year, that's pretty freaking depressive, and you're probably going to do something to change that. If you're feeling unbelievably emotionally sad one day, you might say, okay, I'm going to make a change. This is really, really making me feel sad. And so sadness can lead to growth and beauty and all of that. You touched on it before, but Byron Katie, the book, I Need Your Love, Is That True, is probably the best book for this topic at being okay with whatever your partner's emotions are, whatever they're going through right now. That's okay. I don't need you to be happy. I need your happiness. Is that true? No. If you're not happy, that's okay. It doesn't have to reflect on me. I think something else that's helped is putting a line between the two of us, like almost chopping, the gap, putting a gap between the two of us. What I mean by that is if you're sad, I can still be happy. If you're sad, I can still go have a good day. If you're angry, I can still be peaceful. I don't have to like attach to you and feel your emotion. I can chop between the two and just sit over here, happy, calm, and peaceful, and notice that you're sad, and then say, can I help with that? Or if I don't feel like I can help with that day, what do you want to do to improve it? Do you want me to just give you some space? Do you want me to get you to talk to your friends? What would you like? And so I don't have to take your emotions on board and feel them myself. I can empathize with them. I can notice them in you, but I don't have to do it as well. I don't have to sit there and cry with you.
Yeah, you don't need to get sucked into that headspace.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it a little bit earlier as well, but a huge thing for me was also just learning to be okay with my own emotions. And I think by teaching myself that my emotions are okay, by extension, yours and other people's emotions are okay too. Because I definitely used to see sadness as a concern or something to get worried about or to freak out about. Like, oops, something's wrong. Something needs to be fixed. Like, this isn't okay. But finding more peace in my own emotions made it a hell of a lot easier to find the same in you.
And I think let's sum up with a little bit of gratitude. And I'm obviously grateful for everyone who's taught us all of these things, like our spiritual coach Keith, Byron Katie, David Hawkins, Mother Teresa. I could list like 1,000 people that have helped us with this journey in our relationship and with sex and with money and goals and love and all of that. But I want to give a special shout out to, and we'll keep her anonymous all the time because she is an international spy of mystery or something like that. She just works a job where she wants to be anonymous. But the girl that we've been dating for over a year now, big shout out to her. She might watch this. Sometimes she watches some of our videos, but we had a particular day where we were going to see her, and she comes over an hour to see us by train. I think it's like an hour and 40 minutes or something. And she arrived at the train station, and we were going to pick her up from the train station like we always do. And you were feeling very sad. You were feeling unbelievably emotional that day, and you didn't want to have to face someone else. And I think we'd been seeing her for like 9 months at that point. And you just felt like, I don't know if I can see another human being today. I don't know if I can't put on a brave face and pretend to be happy. And we sat in the car for like half an hour, maybe 45 minutes, texting her. I was texting her and I was like, look, Imogen's just going through something right now. Like, I'm really sorry. I know you're literally sitting at the train station, like, wondering what the hell's going on. I promise you we'll be there soon. And we talked and we argued a fair bit. We used to argue back then. And kind of just went back and forwards. And you really weren't okay. And finally, I took a chance and I was like, okay, you stay here in the car or you go home. I'm going to go see her by myself and I'll just have a chill day with her. You know, we'll just walk around and maybe go to a cafe and then I'll say goodbye to her. I walk over to her. You're still in the car. You're still sad. And I basically just casually explain. I'm like, look, Imogen's really sad. She's really not okay, you know. And she said something that has stuck with me for such a long time. She said, it's okay to not be okay. And that just like stuck in my goddamn head. And then eventually you kind of came over to her and you were really scared to face her because you were like, you know, I'm not okay and I don't know if that's okay. And is this too much of a burden to be putting on someone who's like in a casual relationship with us? Like, is this me being like a Debbie Downer? Shouldn't I pretend to be happy? And she said basically the same thing to you. She was like, she gave you the world's biggest hug and you were like kind of crying and sad. And she was like, it's okay not to be okay. And we spent the entire day together and we just talked about emotions and about the fact that sometimes we put pressure on ourselves, like as human beings and us in particular, to be happy, to be a certain way, to face up to other people with a brave face and a big smile. And she just gave us this space to talk about that and be okay with sometimes not being okay. And she didn't judge. She's just an unbelievably loving, she's like unconditionally freaking loving to us. And very loving, gave us the space to just talk about it. And that day has stuck in my head. You know, this was probably like, I don't know, 6 months, maybe a year ago. It was a while ago.
It's about a year.
Yeah, it might be
over
a
a
year
year
ago
now.
Yeah, it was like a long time ago. Because that was probably one of the last arguments we ever had, you and I. I think that was the last time we ever really argued. And I think she helped a big part with that. And it really did feel like we spent the whole day together just being okay with you not fully being okay. And like I said, that has stuck with me like a year later. That loving force that she gave and that complete acceptance of whatever emotion you or I or us might be feeling. And we've given her, hopefully, I mean, she said that we've given her that same unconditional acceptance. There's been times since then that she hasn't been okay and she's been sad and she's been crying and grumpy and all of that. And we're like, that's cool. Like, you've been nice to us when we're not okay. So of course it's okay too. So that more than anything, that statement has probably helped us the most. So if you're ever feeling like your partner is a bit sad, you can just say to them or to yourself, it's okay to not be okay. How long are you going to wait before you demand the best of yourself? These guys didn't wait. They joined my coaching program and gave themselves the life that they've been dreaming of. Taylor had a threesome, tons of sex, learned to be honest with his intimate partners, and fully embraced a more peaceful, happy, and loving mindset. Laz more than doubled his income from $25K to $45K a month, as well as having more sex than he could handle, all while fully embracing honesty and authenticity. Corky learned to love himself instead of always beating himself up. Oh, and he had a threesome, sex with 7 women, and started his own business. Want to do what they've done? Join our coaching program, and I and the other coaches will pour our heart and soul into giving you the life that you've dreamed of. No more waiting. Now is the right time. Link in the description below.